Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Break a Game and Why You Shouldn't. That last part is kind of important, but feel free to ignore it. So, I figure the best way to go about this is to have 10 commandments. 10 is a good number, right? Everybody does 10 commandments. So, why not me? Commandment number 1. Thou shalt not make thy characters too strong. Yeah, and how many of you know somebody who's done this? Yeah. Everybody has one. So, thou shalt not make thy characters too strong. Can anybody tell me, of the 4 options I have given you, what this creature is? Anybody, raise your hand, come on.
Kobold.
It is a kobold. That is your final answer? Okay, we've got one for A. Who thinks it's A?
I'm giving information.
Who thinks it's B? C? The god with the power to alter reality with thought? Anyone? Anyone can do that too? And D? All of the above? You guys are cheating. Okay, it is in fact D. I would like to introduce you to Pun the Kobold. Wizard 1, Scion 1, Strength, Dex, Con, Wisdom, Intelligence, Charisma, Infinite. Abilities, all of them. And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. Accomplices, a sage, psi crystal, tiny viper familiar, and an army of god squirrels. And again, I'm not exaggerating. I wish I was. Pun is the result of using the rules improperly. He is a totally legal character. As far as it goes, you could make Pun if your GM will let you. All it requires is that you are smart enough to get I think it's a 25 on an intelligence, or on a knowledge check, to know that you can summon a dark and evil god, and he will give you stuff if you do what he says, and then using that to become a god yourself. It's very complicated and takes years to explain, so I'm not going to go in full detail. You can search Pun the Kobold and you'll find him. So, how do you make a character too strong? Well, like Pun, you can exploit the rules to make them as strong as possible. It can be kind of complicated, it can be kind of easy. It all depends on how badly you want to make this character as strong as possible.
And how badly your GM does.
This man is smart. The GM is always your opponent in making the game broken. So,
unless the GM's the one striking the damn game.
I'll get to that later. You could also make all your decisions based on how powerful they make your character, rather than on if they make sense for the character. This one, you'll see people saying things like, well, I could do this, but if I instead go with this random feat that I found in this book that no one's ever heard of, I can make my guy spit fire at level 1, and he can kill everything. Draconomicon. Stat isn't important to your class? Dump it in the lowest stat, or in the lowest stat, yeah. So, if you have a fighter, okay, what doesn't a fighter have no real use for? Wisdom is a great answer. Wisdom, intelligence, charisma. You don't need it as a fighter. You can't use charisma, you're behind armor anyway. Who needs intelligence if the smart guy's head is on the ground? So, if you have a low stat, say you rolled a 3, dump it in one of those, who cares? You're not using it anyway. Optimizing racial bonuses with the class. I have the half-orcs get a -2 to intelligence, and I've heard so many people say, if you have a half-orc, make them a fighting class, and then dump your, 3 intelligence into intelligence, or your 3 stat into intelligence, because it can't go any lower. The rules won't let it. You have now nullified that downside to that race. So
you're still dumb as a rock.
But you're not as dumb as a single rock, you're as dumb as 3 rocks. Now, how does it break the game and why shouldn't you do this? Okay, imagine you have a party of level 3 characters. You've got a level 3 wizard, a level 3 bard, and a level 3 warrior. And the warrior is strong enough to cut a dragon in half. The other guys are strong enough to take on level 3 things. How do you challenge that party without it being too easy for the warrior or too hard for everybody else? It becomes social drama, and the party tears itself apart. And there's slap fights, and somebody became pregnant, and we don't know who's the father. So, the lack of challenge, you know, if they're making the game fun for everybody else, you're sending level 3 things to a level 3 party, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun for whoever is the really, really, really strong character, because how do you challenge them? You know, and no challenge, no fun. Huh?
One big guy who bounces over guys.
He cleaves all of them in one turn.
Actually, yeah, Ben, you remember?
Have you done this?
Actually, yeah, he ran a campaign where he was NPCing one of the party members, and he just so happens to make it strong enough where, oh, by the way, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead.
But I did limit what it can do.
So, essentially, what we're saying here is it's like attacking an anthill with a tank. Yeah. And then, you know, you're not going to send children against more tanks just because they've got a tank in the party. And a note here, Pun Pun's creator says, don't play this character. People ask him all the time, how do I get around this thing if my GM doesn't want me to do this trick? Don't. That's what Pun Pun's creator says. It was never meant to be played. So that's commandment number 1. Don't make the character too strong. Commandment number 2 is a little bit different. Thou shalt not make thy characters too weak. Yeah, I know. But that's the fun thing, right? You gotta have it so that you are being rescued all the time, because that's fun. Right? We'll get to that later. This is a theme. I don't know. I planted these guys in the audience, just so you know. Now here's a real example that I've heard of from a friend of mine. He had a friend in his gaming group who always made the weakest possible character imaginable. He had wizards who were less than 10 in intelligence. Can you cast a spell if you have less than a 10 in your intelligence? No. You can't cast anything. You can't cast level 0 spells.
Can you read a book at level 10?
Maybe. Depends on how many words and how many pictures.
Dr. Seuss.
Maybe. Depends on the Dr. Seuss. So yeah, wizard that can't cast spells. Kinda useless. If you overload your character with too many flaws, if they are a leper who has, you know, no eyes, and he's deaf, and he can't talk, can he do anything? No. So don't overload with too many flaws, because eventually you become one giant flaw, and yeah. Taking feats that don't make any sense. Skills, specializations, any of that kind of thing. Like I said here, monk builds don't need broadswords. And if you can't use the broadsword, why are you proficient with it? Yeah. I wish I was making some of this stuff up, guys. I wish. So, how does that break the game? Just like if you're too strong, you are pretty much hindering the rest of the party, because to challenge you, they have to obliterate the rest of the party. In this case, you've become a burden to the party. You are a millstone around the party's neck. Because they have to drag you out of the fire every time you get into a fight with a level half frog length. Nobody wants to babysit you. Nobody wants to have to protect your character the whole time because you can't do anything. So, how much, and like I said here, how much fun is it to need saving every encounter, no matter how minor the encounter is? Anybody think that's fun? We'll deal with you later. So, how do you avoid being too weak? Well, you can have flaws. Flaws are a good thing. Flaws add depth of character. However, if you have too many flaws, the depth of character goes straight through and there's nothing behind it. I've got a couple of examples. If you have poor eyesight, maybe your hearing is better, so maybe you get a bonus to listen. If you have a fighter but doesn't have a lot of strength, maybe you use dexterity instead. You get skills and things that help you with that. So turning a flaw into an advantage actually even adds more depth of character and makes the character far more interesting.
I've played with a lot of GMs who are of the opinion that flaws cannot be strengths. You cannot use a strength. You cannot use a flaw to help.
Well, the flaw itself isn't helping you. The flaw is still hindering you. But everything is about give and take. If you lose your eyesight, your hearing, your sense of smell are going to get stronger, right? Daredevil, exactly. Turn the flaw into strength.
So you become Ben Affleck?
No.
I hope not.
I feel like that's another flaw.
If you become Ben Affleck,
that's the deepened void that you keep going.
Ben Affleck is the void behind the flaw. Okay. So, don't make a character too strong. Don't make him too weak. So that helps. What's number 3? I wish I remembered. Thou shalt not use alignment as an excuse. You've heard of this one.
I'm playing with this one.
Yeah. You'll find that you've played with a number of these, probably. So, do you want to make other characters do whatever you want them to do? Do you want to say, we should do this because it is right and because my moral code says we should, so you're going to? Lawful good was tailor-made for that. You want to do whatever you feel like? Don't care what the rest of the party says. They can't say anything about it. It's your alignment. Chaotic neutral. It's perfect. Do you just want to burn some stuff? Who here wants to burn some stuff? Kinda? Okay, we'll get to it.
He wants to build it first.
Build it first, and okay, that's neutral evil. We'll get to that. Okay, chaotic evil is perfect for burning things. I'm sorry, this is the wrong slide. There we go. Yeah, these are entirely different alignments. These are legitimate alignments. I use them all the time.
I think every GM does.
Yeah. If you are using your alignment as an excuse for your poor behavior, you are one of these alignments. Or there's, what is it now, 6 other ones as well. There's true stupid, stupid neutral stupid, all sorts of stuff. I like true stupid, it's great. So, how it breaks the game. Like I said, alignment is not an excuse for your bad behavior. Alignment is not a shield that you can hide behind when you do behave badly and someone calls you out on it. What is alignment? It's not a hard and fast rule that says this is how you will react in this situation. It's a tool that allows you to say, this is how I view my character, and based on that, I am going to do this. It's not a hard and fast rule, though. It should color your decisions. It shouldn't dictate them.
Now, I've had GMs that have demanded that your decisions follow exactly to your alignment.
Alignments shift. So, find better GMs.
We're hoping to build them.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I'm going to post this online later. Send it to your friends. I'm trying to help here. Anyway, far more important than alignment is characterization. Everybody, no matter what their alignment is, has that one thing that's going to cause them to break the rules of their alignment. If you are lawful good and somebody is going to injure your family, they're going to kill your family, are you going to say, well, the law says he hasn't done anything, so I can't touch him? Or are you going to stop him from killing your family?
How much do you like your family?
Doesn't depend on the GM. Depends on the player. The GM can get in the way, but we'll get to that later. I'm going to be saying this even after the thing is done. We'll get to it later. You know, I want to leave you on a cliffhanger. Get you coming back for more next year, maybe. So, characterization. You know, everybody has exceptions. You know, as a rule, you know, I don't believe in guns. Guns are bad, okay? Okay.
Okay.
But there are exceptions to that rule. Every rule has exceptions. And it's the same with your character. Alignment has exceptions. And it's not even, there's not 9 alignments, there's millions of alignments. You know? You can be anywhere in any of those 9 boxes. So, be true to the character, not necessarily true to the alignment. Alignments can shift. You can go from being lawful good to neutral good if the law lets you down enough. So,
Just because you have evil in your name doesn't mean you have to accept everyone.
Exactly. Just because you have evil in your name does not mean you need to stab every orphan that you come across. This man is a genius. Talk to him afterwards. So, what have we covered? Don't make them too strong. Don't make them too weak. Don't use your alignment as an excuse for being a dick. And thou shalt not whine when thou art called out. Has anybody been in a game? I'll take that as a yes. I didn't have to. How many people have heard some of these? But it's what my character would do. My character's a thief. I have to steal from everybody. You've heard that one? Okay. But my other GM lets me do it. I got a point. But I have insert froglings. Let's go with froglings. I like froglings. But I have froglings as a favorite enemy. I have to drop everything and go on a quest to kill that one we heard about. Even though he's... You've seen that one? Yeah. Yeah. Fun, isn't it? And this is a fun one. There isn't enough cowbell. This game needs more cowbell. You know, this game needs more loot. This game needs more fighting. This game needs more dungeons. Whatever it is. So, if you want to break a game, whine. Whine like there is no tomorrow. It will kill it dead faster than you can blink. But how? How does it break the game? Well, if I'm whining, is anybody else doing anything? No, they're listening to me whine. Just like you all are listening to me natter on about whining. So, nobody's having any fun if you're whining at the GM, because the GM can't keep the game going. It just kind of, whining just sucks all the life out of everything. You become a fun vampire. And not a fun vampire as in, I want to hang out with that vampire.
Do you sparkle?
Yes, fun vampires sparkle in the sun and without the sun. They're that terrible. So, if you have grievances, you can talk to the GM. Most decent GMs will talk to you after the game. You know? Or before the game. If you had a problem last time, you could be like, hey, I gotta talk to you about this thing. You know, it really bothered me. Give me 5 minutes, we'll talk about it, and come to a compromise. Or, if it's really, really important, who here would be in a game and not want to go on a food break? Anybody not want to take 5 for food?
Let's go do it now.
I don't trust you. So,
No, he'd take 10 for a smoke.
well that too.
It's not food.
That is a good way of saying, hey, can we take 5, and I want to talk to you about this thing that's really kind of bugging me, and then we'll come back and keep the game going. Those are completely legitimate. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and it may make the game more fun for everybody. Does anybody have a problem with more fun for everybody?
But it's less fun for me.
Does it involve Jimmy Fallon?
So, don't whine. If you're called out on bad behavior, accept it. Say, I'm sorry, I will try not to do it again. Or, if it's really something that you think needs to be changed, talk to the GM, but don't waste everybody else's time in the game. What's next? Do you remember? I don't remember. Let's find out. Oh, we got to you now! Thou shalt not have fun at others' expense. Let me tell you, this was the first one that went on my list when I was thinking of this. How do you do this? How can you have the most fun at everybody else's expense?
Start killing each other off.
Here's some steps. Step 1, create a character. Let's say you create a dwarf fighter. Okay, that's good. Join a party. We're in a tavern. There's a party. I join up. Get the rest of the party killed in 5 minutes. Huh?
Leroy Jenkins.
Ah, no. But that's also a good idea. That would work as well. However, the best way to do this is walk into the back room of the tavern where there's some dwarves gambling and say that this party out front had said some derogatory things about their parentage. And watch the dwarves storm out of the back room and slaughter the party while you, step 4, sit and laugh. Watch the rest of the party reroll characters, laugh some more. I wish I was making this story up. I'm not. That exact scenario happened in a game that a friend of mine was in. He was the one laughing.
He thought it was great.
He did! He bragged about it all the time. He's like, dude, I have this great story. I got the whole party killed in 5 minutes. First session, 5 minutes. I am not even kidding. So how does this break the game? Do I need to explain it? Probably. The attitude that your fun is more important than everybody else's? Really selfish. Come on, guys. Really? You know, does anybody really think that my fun trumps your fun is little? Anyway, aside from this guy, who I'm not going to ignore, unless it's hilarious. So, this one breaks the game because it goes against what role-playing is all about. Role-playing is getting together with a group and telling a story. You are all responsible for the story. You all have your part to play, and the best outcome is to create a great story. It doesn't matter if you lose to the boss. It doesn't matter if you get the whole party killed. The whole group has to come together and tell a good story. And these are your friends. I don't know about you. But if you want to keep them as your friends, you might not want to do this one. If you don't care, by all means. But seriously, you have a responsibility to the group. You know, if I'm gaming with you, I have a responsibility to you to make sure the game is fun for you I just told a story about you, Brandon.
Nothing good, I hope.
You remember the time you got an entire party killed within 5 minutes of starting the first session?
Which?
Exactly. Sit back. So, yeah, you have a responsibility to the whole group to, you know, make it fun for everyone. Let's see, what was that? 5? 6? 5?
5.
3?
5.5.
Number 6. Thou shalt not use thy knowledge unjustly. Can anybody tell me what that means? Metagaming. What is metagaming?
It's a moose.
Using any knowledge or information. Yes, it's a moose. I see many, many racks of antlers. Using your knowledge or information outside the game to influence what your character is doing in the game. What might this look like? Well, if your character has never seen a vampire, if they don't know what a vampire is, then why are they going to instantly react to making a wooden stake? You know, they're like, I'm going to make this wooden stake to kill this thing. Why? You have a sword. It makes more sense to use the sword, doesn't it? But no, you're using the sword to cut some wood. This one is rampant, the second one. How many hit points do you have left? I want to know which healing spell to use. Has anybody ever seen that in the game? Yeah, everybody's seen that in the game. That is metagaming. It's not very egregious metagaming, but it is metagaming. Your character doesn't know what hit points are.
A more appropriate question might be, you know, how fucked up do you look?
That's a good question. I have actually told my players on occasion, you know what, guys? Stop asking for numbers. You don't know numbers. And so they're like, how bad are you? And you get answers like, really bad. Every time. They end up wasting a lot of high-level spells.
My leg is gone. What does it look like?
Well, they took my arms and they threw them over there. They took my legs and they threw them over there.
Hey, you're fine.
How are you pointing?
It's my own story, and it involves the fact that I have arms in my ears. Exactly. So, another problem is because everybody is sitting at the same table, you hear conversations that your character is not a part of. And a lot of people will use the information they heard, assuming that they'll tell me it eventually, so I already know. It makes it easier. And easier is better, right? Kind of. And,
Depends on how big you think the team's be.
well, we're talking about me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And the last one. This reminds me of what this GM did in the last game. In the last game, there were a lot of traps. I checked for traps everywhere. You're not a rogue. I checked for traps everywhere anyway. There are no traps in this inn.
You are certain there are no traps in this inn. The floors go, the stairwell goes flat. Is it in?
I have never done that. Yes, and you must face him alone. Okay, so how does metagaming break the game? Well, again, it makes the challenges less challenging. I know that this vampire is going to be weak against fire and a piece of wood through the chest. Then again, who isn't weak against a piece of wood through the chest? So you don't have to think. You don't have to say, my sword going through this guy didn't seem to bother him at all. How do I make up for that? You don't have to think around the problems. You don't have to problem solve. Problem solving is where the fun is at. You know, you get into a fight and you're like, okay, I've been hitting this guy in the face with a warhammer for 30 minutes and nothing is happening. Well, he doesn't have this glowing red orb on the end of his tail. Maybe I should hit that. And how many of you play video games? I'm not surprised. How many of you, the first day you get a video game, you reach for a strategy guide?
Not the first thing.
When do you reach for strategy guide?
After you're stuck, you can't do anything.
When you're stuck, when you can't do anything?
I try to beat the game first and then look for...
Beat the game first, because that first playthrough is going to be more satisfying if you don't have a walkthrough, isn't it?
Sometimes, every once in a while, I'll get stuck on, it's like, in a dungeon or something like, where the fuck am I?
That happens to everybody. And yes, watch your language. I don't want to have to come up with that.
Oh, yeah.
They can identify you. So, metagaming is a walkthrough. Metagaming is the strategy guide. It makes the game less satisfying, it makes it less fun. Don't do it. Moving on to number whatever that is.
7.
Thou shalt not force thy player's hands. By the way, we've gotten into GM territory now. I have an example for you. There's a creepy castle on a hill. Lightning flashes and thunder rolls. You see a light in the tower, and you hear a scream. What do? It's not my problem. You keep walking. By the way, know the castle? It's wonderful. So, a little later, you walk for a while. There's a creepy castle on a hill. Lightning flashes, thunder rolls. You see a light in the tower, and you hear a scream. What do? Still not my problem. I keep walking. Note the entirely different castle. You walk for a little while. There's a creepy castle on a hill. Lightning flashes, thunder rolls. You see a... Yeah, I'm not going to keep going. So the GM really wants you to go to that castle, don't they? Yeah?
No.
They're going to take no for an answer?
Probably.
Probably not. This is what we like to call railroading. How many of you have seen some railroading done? Yeah. Kind of like that.
Play video games.
That's different. A little bit. Especially with newer video games. So, how does railroading break the game? Well, you take away free choice. They don't have a choice. They're going into that castle whether they like it or not. I'm going to make sure they go into that castle. If I have to drag them in there behind, werewolves wearing, trench coats, they're going in that castle. And it stops being a collaborative story at that point. You've had them make characters, and now those characters are yours. And it's your story. You are going to tell it the way you want to tell it. And that's no fun. Because what are your friends even doing there at that point? Also, speaking from experience, always leave room for your players to surprise you. You never know when one of them is going to decide he doesn't really care about that family heirloom or whatever it was that you stole from him, and instead wants to go the opposite direction and sell lantern oil as a cure-all. Always leave room for the characters to surprise you, because they will anyway.
Now, what about instances where the story or the characters just languish on the same spot and do nothing else? There's no...
Well, you might have to have a talk with your character or with your players at that point. If nothing is happening, if the game is stagnating, something's got to change, and maybe you have to have a talk with somebody. Maybe you have to throw in something. Maybe there's a plot hook that you can pull out of, your hat and throw at them, or something.
Perhaps a little girl nearby has lost her parents. Something.
Perhaps a warlord decides to lay siege to the city. They can't sit around and wait out whatever after that, can they? If they sit and wait, they're going to be killed by, angry knights and people with fire. So, if you get to a point where I have nothing else planned. This castle was all I had planned for today. I didn't have time to do anything else. Say it. You got caught being unprepared. Fess up to it. Your friends aren't going, in most cases, your friends aren't going to hate you for it. They may hate you for the railroading. So, tell them, this is all I have. If you guys really don't want to do this, that's cool. We'll meet next week, or whenever you're meeting, and we will go at it again with something new. It's perfectly fine. You can't always have something the party's going to want to do. Number 8. Thou shalt not allow thy players to run thy game. Anybody ever hear the term when the inmates run the asylum? Yeah. It's at the top of the slide. You've heard it now. So, okay.
That's a phrase, not a term.
Hey. You want me to make you sit over with him?
He's going to be at JPEX this year too, by the way.
Oh my. So, hypothetical situation. Player says, I want to do a running front flip double hatchet attack. Well, you can't. It doesn't work that way in the rules. You don't have the ability to do that. But the rule book says I can do it if I can roll this thing, or my other GM said I could do it in the last game I played.
Isn't that when you quote rule 0? As a GM, I said it can't happen, therefore it now happen.
He may have redeemed himself slightly. So, yes, that would be a good way to handle this. However, that's not what GM, faceless guy in my example does. He says, okay, whatever, I don't want to argue about this, go ahead and do your front flip double hatchet attack.
Would you think it's okay to go with, it's like, you can say that's what he does, but he doesn't do any more damage than a normal attack.
You could do that. You could.
Well, you can say, go for it, and then laugh while he fails.
You can also do that. So, there are ways of dealing with this, yes. But how does it break the game? Well, GM provides the structure for the game. If the GM's not providing structure for the game, who is? Answer? Nobody! So it becomes a formless mass of players doing whatever they feel like. And it's your world as the GM, and I'm not even saying this is the world you created. This is your world. Whether you're using a pre-gen world, whether you created your own, it is yours for the time being. To allow the players to run your game is to allow them to run the world. The world has rules. Some worlds don't have any magic. If a player says, I want to use magic, you say, no, there's no magic in this world, or there's no magic of that type. If they say, well, the rulebook says I can do it, tell them, tough luck, there's no magic of that type in this world.
I can't remember the name of it, but there was a movie released at Gen Con a couple years ago. Basically, it's a D&D campaign.
The Gamers During Strides and the Gamers, that series.
Yep, that's
The Gamers. Cool. That's a pretty hilarious example of how to do all of these things.
Here's a monk, and he's most certainly not an elf.
Of course.
There are elves in my world. But I want to play an elf. It's in the rulebook.
So, I'm going to ask to hold all questions to the end now, because we are at 20 minutes out. So, you got to be firm. You got to say, these are the rules of the world. Don't mess with them. You can't do it. I'm not going to allow it. If you really have a problem with that, we can talk after the game, but it's not going to happen this session. Be firm. Your players might respect you for it. If they're your friends. Ooh, I love this one. Number 9. Thou shalt not send thy player characters to certain death. Somebody's looking at someone over there.
Actually, no, he didn't.
So, somebody argued this point with me one time. They're like, well, it's not my fault if the characters walk into a dragon's lair at level 1. I'm like, yes it is. You put the dragon's lair there. If you don't want your characters to die, don't put the dragon's lair in their way. Okay, here's some examples here. Basic fantasy characters get transported to the far future, where everyone else has lasers. They have little armor and swords, versus tech armor and lasers. Who wins? Anyone? Anyone?
Swords. You can bounce the lasers off the swords.
These are not highly polished swords. These are level 1 swords.
Rusty daggers for everyone.
Rusty daggers. Okay. I'm not saying it couldn't be done well, but the time I saw it done, not done well. Deadly traps the party can't avoid. And I'm not saying all traps, just the deadly ones. The ones that are going to kill someone, and they don't have a chance to do a will save, a dex, whatever. Any kind of save, no saves. Rocks fall, everybody dies.
Actually, me and one of my DMs...
Save your stuff till later. Anything deadly that the party has no means of defending against. A dragon versus level 1 characters. Can they defend against it? Not really. Cthulhu? Anyone?
Yeah.
Cthulhu? Yeah. Don't do that. If Cthulhu makes an appearance in your game, okay. So, how does it break the game? If you have a 100% chance of killing the entire party, it's not very fun. The whole point of this is you put the characters into situations where they will have to fight or die, and, well, if they're just going to go in, fight, and die, 100% chance, is it fun? No. No, it's not fun. It's kind of lame. You got to create a fun environment. It's your job. As the GM, you have more responsibility to the party than the party does. Don't tell the party I said that. They don't need to know. I have been in high mortality rate games. I have been in games where the GM said at the beginning, I just want you to know, there is a high probability that your character will be a fine pink mist. Just so you're aware. If you still want in, awesome. If not, that's cool. And that is perfectly acceptable. You go in knowing the risk of death. However, that's not certain death. There is a chance you will die. It is not a guarantee that you will die. You can, this was that same game again, my character became a fine pink mist after being punched in the back of the face. And the GM's like, okay, if you want, you can re-roll and we will work your new character into the game. That way you're not done playing just because you died. He did that twice. He likes the high mortality rate games. I don't question it. And avoid killing more than 1 or 2 at a time. If you absolutely have to kill more than one person in the party, maybe the person who's killing the party gets bored because it's too easy, and they wander off while the party stares, ineffectively after them. It can happen. If it's a poison gas trap, maybe it kills a few people, but they were right in the middle of it. The other guys get a little sick, but they don't die. As a GM, and again, don't tell the party this, you are actually kind of on their side. You don't want the story to end. You shouldn't want the story to end. So, make sure the story can continue. Number 10. Thou shalt treat all thy players equally. Anybody ever have a GM who's, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, daughter, anything, was in the game? Anybody? Yeah? How's that usually go?
Actually, his girlfriend ended up becoming the most screwed over character in the entire party.
I didn't say it was always a good thing. So, significant other, one of the characters, you make pre-gen characters, including one of a class you don't really like. This actually happened. There was a person who made pre-generated characters, and they hate bards. They absolutely think bards are a worthless waste of paper, but they made a pre-gen character of a bard anyway, and they screwed them over as far as what spells they had, what their stats were. They just completely destroyed this character. The person who got that character made the best of it anyway, and was one of the most hilarious characters in the game. So, but they were at a disadvantage. They made that disadvantage an advantage, but still, the GM didn't help that. One of your players criticizes your GMing style. There is not enough cowbell in this game. I cannot stand you. Well, okay, you have contracted mummy rot. Totally legit. Yeah. Their preferred sports team beat your preferred sports team. I don't think this is likely to happen in gaming. But one never knows. One never. It has?
It has.
Oh. This player just started dating your sister. You can't castrate the player in real life. Doesn't mean you can't do it in the game. Cthulhu. Don't do it. So, and any of these things could be you treat the player better, or you treat the player worse than you're treating everybody else. How does it break the game? If you allow your personal feelings to get in the way, you're making it too hard or too easy for one person. And again, as with other things, if one person's having too easy a time or too hard a time, they are a burden for the rest of the party. It makes it unfair for one or more people involved. And leave the personal feelings at the door. Don't bring them to the table. You know? Resolve stuff beforehand, or pretend it doesn't exist while you're in game. If you can't leave it at the door, maybe don't have them in the game. I mean, if you can't treat them fairly, say, I'm sorry, there's this thing, I don't think I can treat you fairly, I'm going to ask that you not be in the game. That sucks, but it is a possibility, and it's probably fairer than letting them be in the game and then treating them like crap the whole time. And maybe you shouldn't be running a game if you can't keep it under control. So, here we have, again, the full list of 10... You know, that's kind of lame. 10 Commandments has been done. So, unlike other lists of commandments, this one goes to 11. Thou shalt not cheat. Who's seen cheating in a game? Yeah. How do you cheat? Lie about dice rolls. I totally rolled 20 on that die. And I don't know why you couldn't see it. It was there on the table for 2 seconds before I grabbed it up and put it in my pocket. Convenient math errors. In Munchkin, it will let you go up a level. Don't let it do that in game. If you're taking less damage than you should have, the GM says you take 5 damage. You put down 2 on your character sheet. You roll the dice. You got a 15. You're like, I rolled a 15. That comes out to 20. I thought you only had 3 in that skill. Miraculously, having a larger dice pool than you should. For those of you who play World of Darkness or anything where you have a dice pool. If you should have 10 dice and you somehow have 15, yeah. Maybe I could understand if you had 11. Maybe. But 15, really, guys? I'm looking at you.
They can't cheat.
So, altering the character sheets. This is why I collect the character sheets at the end of each session. I collect them because, though I trust my players, I don't trust them. You know, people could alter it in subtle ways. You know, they have a few more hit points the next time they come to the table. They could have changed their build points because they saw that this is going to be more hack and slash and they had a more cerebral character. Or they might have magically appearing money. Could happen. Magical item. Pouch of making more money for me. It's legit, look it up. So, how does cheating break the game? I don't really need to cover this. I really don't. Everybody knows why cheating breaks the game. So this is why it breaks the game. Yeah, no. Why you shouldn't. It's really not fair. If you are cheating, you are making it more unfair than if the GM is, just not treating a player equally. You are making it more unfair, and you are doing it maliciously. You are doing it on purpose. Don't be a dick. Don't lie. Always roll where somebody can see it. Leave the dice on the table. I saw a game where somebody kept rolling, grabbing the dice before they could have even read it, and giving us a random number off the top of their head. The GM said, "You will roll on the table. You will not leave, or you will not take the dice off the table ever. And I will be walking around and looking at them. If you got to do it, you got to do it. If you're a GM, collect the character sheets. Just explain to the players, I know maybe you like to hold on to your character sheet, but I'm going to keep track of it until we are done with the game, done with the entire campaign, and then I will give you a copy of it so that you can hold on to it. And yeah, don't cheat. Seriously. So that's number 11. 11's kind of boring. No, I don't have any more. Note on the commandments. As with any set of rules, there are exceptions. I have been known to fudge dice rolls. As a GM, if I'm going to murder the party. It is perfectly legitimate to fudge a dice roll in favor of other people on occasion, if it's for a good reason. If you're not sure whether your situation is an exception, ask somebody. Hopefully it's not somebody who would also be trying to break the game, because that would be terrible. Don't do that. Special thanks to Khan the Destroyer on the Wizards of the Coast community forums for creating Pun Pun. Because I gotta say, Pun Pun's really fun. We have a couple of minutes left, and I'm going to be here afterwards if you want to talk to me some more. Does anybody have any specific questions? Anybody?
So, yeah, I'm going to sound completely and utterly idiotic here, but what if your goal of a campaign is to kill all the characters and then they continue on instead?
Well, as long as the game is continuing, and as long as the players know ahead of time that there is a high probability of their characters dying. I mean, as long as you are upfront about it, and as long as the game continues going after that. I mean, if your goal is to kill them all off and bring them back as undead, fine.
Yeah, but this happened to me once without warning, and it really sucked. Just for the record.
Do note that creating a party of undead from a party of people who included a paladin or a cleric might not be to everybody's liking. Be aware of that. Yeah, good old, I want to kill myself because I have become what I hate.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that was me. Does anybody else have any specific questions? I will answer this question for you.
What would be your ruling on a player jumping into certain larger creatures' mouth? Like, for example, you have ice form, and if you have a player character who wants to jump in its mouth and kill him.
So specifically, you're saying there is a player character who has a death wish and wants to get themselves killed in the most extravagant way possible.
No, they want to kill it from the inside and cut their way out through its belly.
Yeah, good luck with that. You can't do anything about it. And if the player wants to get their own character killed off, that's their thing. You can't really stop someone from killing their own character. They could do it any time they want with their sword. Or a fireball in a small room. Or, whatever. Anybody else?
What do you do if the party just wants to continually kill each other?
If the party wants to continually killing each other, or continue killing each other, there's a very simple way of fixing that problem. Get a different party. Because if they want to kill each other, I mean, fine. I mean, if that's something you want to do, fine. If that's something everybody is cool with, they all want to stick around and just fight to the death, with each other, that can be kind of fun. If that's not the game you have planned, then say, okay guys, that's not the kind of game that we set out, that's not the kind of game I invited you to play. You know, we can either keep going, you know, or we can not. And it might be worth it to get a new party. It would suck, but it might be worth it. Anybody else?
Okay, I'm not this person, obviously, but I've been in games where everybody's probably played a game with this guy. He's the guy that will loot everything. Even if the person's not dead, they're dying, but they're not dead. He'll try and loot the body and everything. How would you go about killing that character without making it look like you're purposely killing them?
Well, if the guy they're looting's not dead yet, you could stab him or something.
You're on the conscious dying. Not dead. It's one of those scenarios. I'm not dead yet.
It's like
well, so here, let me get some clarification. This person who is not yet dead,
right.
Are they a party member?
Yes.
So this person is looting dying party members.
Yes, they're looting the dying party members while they are still in the party.
Okay, one question. Why does the party keep them around?
Because they didn't realize he was an asshole at the start.
All ages past.
So do they realize he's an asshole now?
Yes.
Well,
all ages past.
Well, that was a scenario. They kicked him out, but I want to know as if I were to jam a game and that kind of guy showed up, how would I kill him without making it look like I'm purposely trying to out him for good?
But are you purposely...
Here's the question then. Here's the question. Okay. Let me give you this scenario. Does he break other laws? Somebody who's looting, you know, dying party members, probably looting other things. So if they're breaking laws, where's the city guard? Where's the king's guard? You know, somebody will come and haul them off to jail, won't they? If they've done it enough, long enough, they might be hanged. It's sad when that happens. It really is.
Not really.
Okay, anybody else? We got time. Mr. Lund.
What's your advice for a situation where you really can't afford to offend the person? Say that person was the looting. Essentially an asshole who's trying to ruin your game with maliciousness. You can't afford, for other reasons, because you're technically friends with him outside of this, you have him in your organization, like the one that's sponsoring this event.
Well, here's what you do. What I would do is I would take this person aside and have a talk with them. And I would say, you know what? This behavior, whatever this behavior is, you're looting the dying party members, you keep stealing from the living party members, you killed the paladin's horse because he said we couldn't blow up an orphanage. Whatever it is, you take them and you say, this is not acceptable. So either cut it out. If you can't cut it out with this character, make a new character that can cut it out. And, you know, if you don't, I'm not going to allow you to play anymore.
So pretty much God says no.
Yes. For the good of the game and for the good of the rest of the players, I say, cut it out. Yeah. Either play by the rules or go home. And it would suck. It would absolutely suck to have to say that to someone you are technically friends with. However, if that's how they're going to be, do you really want to be that technically friendly with them? Yes?
What do you think about adding penalties for characters that are broken? Like, for example, I had a character that I will freely admit was very broken in one area. I rolled like 30 dice to convince, in Shadowrun, to convince someone to do what I wanted for seduction. And my GM started introducing what I thought was a really cool mechanic was that they would be like, okay, you seduced him, he'll do what you want now, but now he's following you around.
So you're going to have an army of lovesick idiots following you around forever.
Right. I know it's possible to almost do that way of breaking it social. I don't know when people make broken social characters besides me, but
well,
it was about a mechanic for doing that fighters.
Yeah. To answer that question, that is a rather elegant solution to the problem, because it isn't going to take away the ability, but anything, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The more strongly you're seducing, the more strongly they are going to be attracted to you, and they might just drop everything and follow you around the countryside forever. And so will the wives and girlfriends who want to kill you now because you have seduced their men away from them. Or women, I'm not judging. So I think that's a really good way of doing it, If you do that with intimidation, well, you've just intimidated someone. Maybe they go run to the guards and say this guy is threatening people to get what he wants, and the guards come take an interest in it. So it all has to be done creatively, and it all has to be done in a way that works in the game. So.
Couple of my DMs had introduced was the idea that seduction was basically more or less temporary total charm, which is weird. Like we had a centaur who was seduced by a gnome in our party. Both were player characters in the party, and now the gnome had an epic mount. Now,
okay.
Not my fault. Not the law.
So yeah, I don't know if I would go so far as to say it is bordering on a magical effect, but something like that could work. I don't know. So it is 4 minutes after, if anybody does want to go do something else. I don't know what else is going on, but I will, yeah, you guys turn that off. I will answer any more questions or that kind of thing if anybody still has something.
was yesterday's GM